one of the next chapters I have for this training is understanding starter offers versus broker price opinions. So I feel like, there's really, a lot of people, at least for over the last, multiple decades, I guess, right? Like they've been very focused on the corporate-esque brokers, right? Like they're like, oh, let me send you a broker opinion of value. Let me, like try to provide as much value as possible. We've heard this 100 fucking thousand times. Literally somebody tagged me online on a post, which was like, oh yeah, like all these people are just like, how do you, trying to provide value to all these, for follow-up, I want to provide value. How do you provide value? Like, oh, like you're calling these people up and trying to submit, broker price opinions, BOVs, broker opinion of values. And it's like, that is not like, sure, it's a decent way to quote unquote provide value, but it's not a blanketed statement. It's not like every single lead you come across, you should be sending them a broker opinion of value. Because there's a lot of people who just go like, yeah, I'm going to send everybody in the world comps. Like all these people, I'm going to send them a bunch of comps, tons of comps. And it's like, that's a way to support a very small select group of your leads. And you probably should do that, right? A small group of the leads that you feel like might be better suited for a listing, you should, of course, one way is to send them a broker opinion of value. Hey, just want to, again, like what, to provide value to these individuals. You can send them comparable properties. Now, obviously, I'd vet them, make sure that, comparable properties aren't some like random stupid property that's sold for 400 a foot, and then everything else you're selling them or sending them is like 150 to 200 a foot, and then this one random one got snuck in there because they're gonna be like, oh, well, this property sold for X. So it's not a blanketed statement. Can it be beneficial in some ways to help you get a listing? Sure, but it is not beneficial 100% of the time to all leads, especially if they're interested in selling. It's not the first thing I'm going to do to send to them. What I'm always going to do, right? Because there's really only two options when you have a lead, right? Which is if you have a lead, someone who's interested in selling, 90+% of the time, I'm sending them an offer. 99% of the time, or a very large percent of the time, I'm sending them an offer. That is my first step. And most of the time, what I'll even do, I'll argue this where if I personally think, like I'll give you an example. We were talking about a lead this morning on one of our team calls. We were talking about this lead, and the guy wants to sell. And based off the information he had provided, it was at a price where I did not feel comfortable making an offer because he had bought it for basically the same amount of money that I was going to offer him 10 years ago. So like if I made him an offer at the same price he bought it 10 years ago, he might think, that I'm stupid, right? Like, or whatever. Now this is in a downtown area where the price per square foot skewed, where the, cap rates are skewed, right? This is not a market where I'm going to buy a 9 cap deal. So instead of making this guy an aggressive offer, which again, I don't believe is the only way to do business, what I suggested to the, team member was, hey, why don't you call up, just like we did with Howie's deal. We did a little bit of reverse prospecting, right? We checked out who bought stuff in the last 12 to 24 months. We found 5 people who all bought properties for crazy numbers, all within this small little downtown. And I said, call them all up. Let's see if we can get an offer on this property. Like, give them all the details, and let's just see what they would come in at a relative range. Like, what range are these people going to be in? This is not setting a starter offer, right? This is setting a true offer to begin with, right? So it's realizing when to play the card, right? It's like you have got cards in your hand, and it's like when to play each one, because you shouldn't just play all of them all at the same time or always the same card every single time, right? Sending a starter offer is typically our majority of the time our first play. Now, again, it's not the same one every single time. Sometimes in this instance, like I just described, I send a true offer first. The first thing I'm going to do is send them a true offer, a legitimate offer. I put it in front of a couple buyers, and I'm going to try to see what we can do. Now, that's only going to be in the circumstances where I feel like my starter offer doesn't make any sense. They bought it for $2 million 10 years ago, and I'm going to be offering $1.5 million. Because the cap rates are compressed right now, and this guy overpaid maybe 10 or so years ago, right? So in those instances, I'm not going to just randomly send a starter offer 100% of the time. It doesn't make any sense. But if they bought it for $200,000 and I can offer them $700,000, and $700,000 is an unbelievable deal. It's like a 10 cap and whatever, right? Of course, I'm going to send my starter offer because it can still possibly it tells a better story. Versus in those instances where they bought it for $2 million and I'm going to be offering $1.5 million. I don't want to look stupid, like they're probably not going to sell it at a loss unless they're specifically stating that over the phone to you. So I'll send them a true offer to begin with. Now, in what instance does it make sense to send a broker opinion of value? Well, in the instance when they say, look, I'm thinking about selling it. I want to probably put it on the market. I'm looking for X price. Let's say that you think the value is, like, again, quickly, roughly, I'm looking at a building based on like the information they're telling us. Let's say I think it's roughly worth $2 million. And they go, listen, I think I'm probably looking for something like $2.5 or $3 million. And you say, like, look, they're looking to list it. Like, okay, well, just out of curiosity, how'd you come up with your price of $2.5 million or $3 million, or whatever they say? And they're just like, oh, well, the property down the street or this down the street or whatever. Like, they're mentioning properties in the local markets. And like, okay, well, listen, are you 100% certain you're going to list the property for sale? Like, is that the plan, or would you be open to hearing an off-market deal? No, I'd be open to hearing an off-market deal. Great. I'm going to pivot from the listing mindset. I'll pivot to try to see if I can sell it off-market. Or if they say, listen, no, I want to list it for sale. I don't like doing anything off market, right? Like, they're going to tell me what they want. I will then immediately pivot to my broker hat, right? I'll take my broker hat, I'll put it on. I'm going to play that role. I'm not going to try to do anything off market. I'm not going to bring it to my investors right away, right? Like, great. So look, funny enough, I'm actually going to be in the area on Tuesday or on Thursday or on Friday, whatever. And in the afternoon, is there a better time? Is there a time that maybe works better for you? I can stop by. We can do, we can walk through the values and see what the best price we can get you. Oh yeah, I'm available, whatever. And you book appointments, right? And you book that appointment, and then to the appointment, I'll bring a broker opinion of value. I'll bring comps. I'll bring all this information so that I can try to get the listing. But it's not like I immediately go, they need a broker opinion value. They need a starter offer. They need, like, there's not one method. I will make sure that in those nuances, like in the nuance of like how they're responding to my questions and what they actually want and how they want their problem solved, how much they want for their property, how soon are they looking to sell it, their motivation levels, all these different things, I will then make the decision based on all those factors, what makes the most sense, right? So it's like, obviously for many of you here, like, you've all heard me talk about starter offers, right? Or at least many of you have heard me say that, or making offers on properties, because I like to start, like, the whole purpose of a starter offer is to start the negotiations, right? To condense the sales cycle, to condense the time frame it takes to get these properties sold, because I want to spend time on stuff that makes sense. Like the guy who, if you guys were here with the live calling session, I talked to a guy and the guy wants $1 million for the property that I think is worth maybe 400,000 or 500,000. I'm not going to spend my time, energy, and effort trying to sell that deal, when most brokers would be like, oh, well, let me send you comps and let me do this and let me do that. The guy wants fucking 400 a foot in a market that's barely 100 and change a foot. It's like, I have no interest, and it's only going to be a complete waste of time for me to even try to go down the path of trying to list that property for sale. He owner occupies the property. It's like, he's not going to sell unless he gets a stupid number. This is not a motivated seller, but too many people get caught up in that nuance. Too many brokers, number one, by the way, with the starter offers, too many brokers avoid this part of the process because they're trying to be nice, right? They're trying to, or they're worried about what the client's going to say. They want to save face. They want to protect their reputation. And it's like, you don't even have any type of reputation whatsoever. And to be honest with you, if hypothetically a Blackstone, right? Like, let's just be honest, okay? I'm gonna, in the notes below, okay? In the notes below. Let's say, by the way, I'll give you another example. If Blackstone, okay, I showed the piece of land from the live calling session, okay? By the way, they wanted $7 million an acre, okay? Which is a smidge above market. Smidge, right? It's like 4 to 5 or 6 million an acre. If I presented Blackstone with this piece of land and Blackstone wanted to offer $20 million, okay, which is like 3 million an acre, something like that. Okay, the guy wants 50 million an acre. Blackstone, I present to Blackstone. Blackstone says, I want to offer 20 million an acre. Do you think I'm going to write up that offer? Write yes in the chat, no in the chat. Would you write it up? Blackstone wants to offer 20 million, the seller wants 50 million. People are saying absolutely and yes across the board. Is there anybody who would say no? Would anybody here not write that up?
Something different. I'll ask it after.
Okay, cool. You can keep your hand raised though. That's fine. Cool. Yeah, so like, nobody here would deny Blackstone from drafting this LOI, right? Like, I don't have to be honest, I don't think I have the balls to tell Blackstone no, okay? I might say like, hey, just to be honest, the guy wanted 50 million. I don't know if he's going to take, the 20, but we'll draft it and we'll submit it anyways, right? So it's like, think about it. If we all, exactly, and Siggy's saying as a broker professional, you're obligated to do so, right? Like, again, as a fiduciary, we are obligated to present the offers, right? If and to be honest, if you sign documents to make yourself a fiduciary, like otherwise you may or may not do that, right? Like, again, if you're not representing, if there's no representation, then you don't have to do anything. It would be stupid not to, but you get my point. But what I'm trying to say here is that if you are in this instance where Blackstone wants to make an offer on at 40 cents on the dollar, please tell me, and this is an important piece here. Come off mute if you want. Come off mute if you want. What is your objection for submitting a starter offer if you are somebody here who maybe actually has objection to submitting a starter offer because you feel uncomfortable, you feel like it's a low ball per se, right? What objections do you feel like any of you might have? And again, if none of you have objections, fair, but I believe that many of you do. I just want to be here to say, like, I want to walk you through that.
My biggest objection would be something like, I don't know how to, I want to keep that deal in play. And if I make a low offer, I feel like that guy's not going to look at me as somebody he wants to list with or do business with in the future. The seller isn't going to want to list, with me because of that.
Love it. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Here's what happens, right? I hear you 100%, and your concern is valid, okay? You have an absolute valid concern. The challenge, and the thing I want to challenge you with, okay, is what if hypothetically, okay, because this has happened, we know this has happened many, many, many times. And I'm not saying that you have to submit because there's a difference between submitting a low ball and a starter offer. I'm going to explain to you. A low ball offer is an offer that is absolutely substantially below market value. Okay, like substantially. Okay, this is a number in which you're offering a 15 cap in a market where it's an 8 cap. You're offering a 12 cap on a deal that's on a 7 cap. You're offering a 9 when it's a 4 cap market, right? Like when you sound stupid. A starter offer is a legit, is close to where we believe the property will trade. So if I believe that the property is going to trade because one of my buyers has interest in the property, and I think it's going to trade for $400,000, I might offer $350 or $325. Or if I think it's going to sell for $4 million, I might offer $3 million, $3.25 million, $3.5 million. If I think it's going to trade for $10 million, I might offer $8.5. Now these are legit. This is to start the negotiation process. Because they might be at 12 when I think it's going to trade at 10. They might be at 7 million, but I think it's going to trade for 5. Now they can think I'm stupid all they want, right? They can think that, I don't know what I'm doing. They can think all these types of things. But as a broker, as an investor, as somebody in the markets, I have confidence that I'm closer to where I have an idea of where it's going to trade. And I feel like I'm probably closer to that number versus what they believe. So what I'm trying to say though, Imani, is that we train, and the way I'm trying to explain it here is I want you to think about the starter offer being about 10% of where you believe it will trade for. From any buyer, any investor, 10 to 20%, which is not a horrible offer, by the way. You have a seller right now who says, I want to sell my property right now for $7 million. Okay? Because you're smart. You know the markets, right? Like this guy, the building's probably worth $5 million. The guy's serious about selling though. He's interested in selling. He's motivated, looking to retire. I want out. I want to move to Florida. I want to take my money. I want to go do whatever the heck I want with it. I want to buy a boat. After taxes, I want to go retire with my wife in Florida. Okay? He's motivated. Okay? This is not make me an offer or, some crazy offer or I'm not selling it. This is like, I want to sell. You and I have run the numbers. We even sat down together. We're working together on this deal and we think it's worth $5 million all day. Maybe someone would pay 5.5. Maybe. Would you not submit a starter offer at like 4.5 million?
Yeah, I'd submit that.
You would submit that?
Yeah, I mean, he told me that he wants 7. I think its true value is 5, maybe 5.5. Yeah, I have no problem submitting 4.5. It makes sense.
Okay, great. That's what I'm suggesting.
Makes sense. I think it's the difference between the lowball offer and the starter offer that I'm confused on. The way I'm used to submitting offers is like 65 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, and keep in mind,
submit it 80 or 90 cents on the dollar and see what happens.
Yeah, and look, on the dollar is in relative terms because 4.5 is 60 cents on the dollar to 7 million. It's truly understanding the value of an asset. And then instead of having to wait to the market, like me putting the property either on the market or out to the market in some capacity, then waiting for these buyers to then give me feedback and then give me an offer on this asset, I just go, I'll go first. I'll pre-negotiate the deal. I don't need to wait on these buyers to make an offer. If I know wholeheartedly this will trade at X range, I can start those negotiations today and not wait weeks for it.